Diane, your wealth word is abundance. What does abundance mean to you?
Oh, I love this so much. Abundance has been a relatively new concept for me. I was raised by older parents, and my parents lived through the Depression. And so for them, I guess quite rightly, had a lack mindset. That's what their experience had taught them. And so you always buy the cheapest, and whatever you have, you use it until it's shreds, whatever it is. And then you take those shreds and save them because those parts might be useful for something else. I mean, when I was a kid, I thought when I'm a grown up, I'm never going to reuse aluminum foil because in our dish rack at home, it would be like plate, 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 sheet of foil, sheet of foil. Now, of course, I reuse foil all the time because of ecology. But at the time, it was like, we can't afford more. Don't be wasteful with anything. We can't afford it. The other thing my parents taught me, which was very practical advice, was look at the options in front of you and make the best choice. Use your intellect, weigh the pros and cons. And that seems like really good advice, but the thing left off of those options is you can look at all of these things and say, these are all lovely, but none of them are for me. I have my own vision, and that's what I'm going to create for myself. The idea of doing something like that, which is an expression of abundance, not on the table, not there. So these were all things I learned later. I had a life coach for a while, and she said, okay, we have to help you with this money mindset. And so here's what you're going to do. You are going to schedule automatic donations. You pick the percent, and I picked 10% of my income, not actually 10% of my gross income, not my net. And this is gonna ping every month, and you choose who you give it to, but you're gonna give away money. And I was like, oh, okay. And I did it. And the first month when those things pinged on my credit card, I thought, how am I gonna pay my bills? I was like, what? And big head explosion. And you know what? The world did not stop spinning on its axis. I paid my bills, and I was like, huh, I'm 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 okay. And that expanded into literally giving away money. Like another challenge that I was given was go find someone, pick your criteria, and give away some money. And so I went out one day with 20 bucks. I had two tens. And I said, the first person who smiles at me, I'm going to give them this money. I was out walking for a long time before anybody smiled at me. But then this young lady smiled at me, and I said, you're the winner. Here's 20 bucks. The only catch is I'd love it if you give away the other 10. And she's like looking for the camera, totally thinking she's going to get punked on this. But it was like, no, this is me giving you money. The end. Bye bye. And I just walked away, and she was scratching her head, but she's like, I'll do it. And so those exercises caused me to trust how abundance works. It's energy, it's flow. And I don't have to cling to the things that I have because there's no one pot of money that's going to run out. It flows. And if I kink the hose by holding on, I'm kinking the hose, and I'm not going to receive in as abundant a way as I could. So, do I have to give away everything to get more? No, of course not. But I also don't have to be terrified of spending or being a little extravagant or thinking beyond what I can see, because that's also a scary part. Well, I can see that money in my bank, and I trust that money in my bank because I can see it. But when you lean into the concept of abundance that says there's plenty for everybody, There's plenty for Christina. There's plenty for anyone listening at this moment. There's plenty for me too. It's a whole different mindset. And it just opens the door to things beyond money, like kind of like what my parents didn't teach me. Well, here are a lot of opportunities. Oh, but I wasn't expecting that one. Hello. And I think I'd like to create this opportunity, and having abundance of ideas and connections and spurts of creativity and crazy synchronistic things where all of a sudden you meet the person of your dreams, or you meet the person who becomes your business partner, or just the person who says in the moment something that makes you go click, and something falls into place. For me, this is wealth. This, once you crack the code on abundance, you're automatically wealthy. And yeah, we're talking cheddar. There can be money involved here too, and rightly so. Part of how I've learned this is by expressing gratitude. And gratitude when it would be really easy to be cranky. And that's when it's a challenge. And I can't go from cranky to joyful, but like those micro steps, I can go to a little off put, to kind of neutral, to a little hopeful, to feeling good, to feeling great. And I do that with appreciation. And sometimes it's for the most mundane. Here's a good example. We have a lot of dogs around us that bark. And when I say bark, I mean like I'm at the kennel. And it goes on for quite some time. And it can be hard to concentrate. So I can either get really about that, or I can say, how lucky am I that my ears can pick up all of this nuance? I can hear the low dogs and the high dogs. I can hear when they're barking, and when they've even had their own little harumph moment, because sometimes they go oh, like that at the end. And my beautiful ears can detect all of that. Does that make me love the dog sounds? No, but it does nudge me out of crankiness. And so learning how to kind of make those shifts helps me feel wealthy.
That is so incredible. Every word that you just said, honestly. And the story with your parents and getting to a point even in your life where you understood why they did what they did, because, that whole adage of what's old is new again, but for different reason this time, and how
Yeah.
trying to conserve our earth versus making it completely disposable. But the fact that you can look at what you have and say, I have what I need when it comes to this material. And what can I share? What can I do? What advice do you give for women that you're working with on their own abundance?
A lot of what I just told you. I don't want to make it oversimplistic, but it has to do with the reframing and learning to listen, and then learning to reframe. And the idea of opening our spirits to abundance is very personal. In the world I walk in, which has to do with health and wellness, I'll hear women use really mean language to define themselves. Words they would never say to a sister, a friend, an enemy, really. I mean, they just wouldn't use that. I suck at this. Okay, really? Really? Is that the truth? Or have you just not practiced long enough to be better? Are you frustrated? Are there other words that are maybe apt, but not as judgmental? I'm really new at this. I'm in my learning curve. I have a long way to go. These are all kind of saying the same thing, but with a much more self-loving approach. And when you're able to learn that distinction and catch yourself, that's the thing. First, we have to learn to hear it. But our crazy brains are like these beautiful supercomputers. If you sit down to Google how to bake a souffle, you're not going to get anything popping up on how to change a tire. You have to put the right words in your search bar, your mental search bar. So why do I suck at this is going to give you a litany of reasons. But how can I get better at this? How can I have patience with myself while I'm learning this? That will produce different answers. But first, it has to do with listening and catching yourself. It stems from self-awareness, learning to listen, learning to know that you can listen and that you're not stuck. One of the things that I am really fresh in learning right now is anything I thought I was stuck with as a physical trait, as a behavior, quirk, I am just not. I am not stuck with it. And I might be digressing a little bit here, but I am into the 4th month of doing a hormone balancing program. And I have just completely overturned symptoms that I was told are just part and parcel with aging. So my brain fog is gone, my libido is back, my joints don't ache, my sleep is like a bebe. And I was just told, yeah, it happens when you get older. But in the last 3 months, I have had to give up my gluten and corn tacos. But the result is I have said goodbye to things I was told I was basically stuck with, just age. So it's invited me to take that, to question everything I thought I was stuck with, everything I might harump at myself about. Turns out maybe I don't have to keep that. I don't have to be stuck with something. So that to me feels very wealthy because I have this abundance of possibility. I can be anything, and anything I want. Like, do I want to be an astronaut? Nah, don't think so. But I mean, you take my point. I'm not feeling limited, and that feels very wealthy.
Across oceans and voices, we rise as one. Our story